both of you.
Okay.
Right.
That's all I want
We
to
didn't
say.
need to meet hours?
Huh? And how, I don't even know how we overlooked that.
We could say.
So we've had this whole discussion and
You got it covered.
go ahead.
I just want to comment on what Director Parent said. You know, his facility encourages every employee to get to the highest level of training, and you may or may not get paid for your position or your certification level, and it's understood. And I can never say your name right. Little Saturday is the translation. Yeah, so you know, he is absolutely correct. There's other sundry items that need to be a complement to your certification, so you could either perform your task efficiently or move to the next level of certification. But the fire department, we always encourage people to take as many classes as you can, because you cannot be trained enough to do the job that we may be asked to do someday. There's classes like auto extrication, there's literally hundreds of classes that you could take. And the chief encourages us to take those classes. I encourage the new recruits to take those classes. The common word was turnover. You know, you're going to get certified and you're gone. Okay, that leaves Matt. Where's Matt's level of certification? Where's his level of training? How are you going to fill that gap? So if everybody's trained to a level, then you have a stopgap mechanism in place to where, you know, if the king falls off the hill, you have the knight come up and he's qualified to fill the king's position, and you don't have any missteps. You're going to be able to continue an operation. If Kelly decided to pull the plug and there's nobody else here with a water license, what are you guys going to do? You can't even sell water. Maybe Joe would offer up his license. I doubt it.
Can't afford it.
But there you go. You can't afford it. So getting them to the level of training to where they can fill each other's shoes, you know, I think is important. And to be able to fill the gaps in between the certs and learn the mechanisms that you need to learn to be able to go out and replace a valve or identify a valve or identify a hazard, for God's sakes. And most of what we do is hazard identification. You know, what's going to blow us up, what's going to kill us, what's going to run us over, what's going to burn us. You know, and I'm sure with these guys the same thing. They're out in the streets, there's gas lines, there's electrical lines, there's all kinds of things that they need to be aware of. So you can't be trained enough. I learned in a class that I took with Kelly years ago, and the motto is, in the heat of battle, you will not rise to the occasion. You will default to your level of training.
Is there any other comments? Okay. So you want to bring this back in March? We'll do that.
Well, it's not what I want, it's what the board wants.
Well, we could have a special meeting too. You guys want to have a special meeting?
I won't be here at the March meeting, so I made it a clear path. I'm going to be out of the country in March, so I mean, I could either, I don't know how we want to bring this back to the board, if we want to have a committee and then go to a special meeting, or however the rest of the board wants to go.
Do you guys envision that this would come back at the March meeting for a vote on finalizing this with no more changes? Basically, the clear draft is what we're going with. I guess I'll review it and see, and we can go from there, because I mean, if Anthony's going to be, we can't have an ad hoc meeting if there's two board members and there's no alternate, and one of the board members is going to be out of the country. We can't have a meeting, so.
How about we bring it back?
We made an error in not appointing an alternate, because at one point we needed one. Ultimately, it's for the entire board to decide on. So whether you do it through ad hoc and then have these discussions, or we just have a special meeting and hash it out that way,
I think that will be.
it's all the same. I mean, I've got 12 hours in it now.
Yeah.
Well,
It really doesn't matter. We did the best we could with what we had to work with.
all right, so.
I mean, we were stopped at a lot of points and told we can't do that. This is not one of them. This one was a topic of discussion.
We need a motion to.
We need something, guys.
Yeah, we're still working on it.
Motion to continue discussion to the next meeting.
Exactly.
I motion to continue the discussion to the next meeting. Second.
So do you want to move the discussion to a special meeting or to the next regularly scheduled meeting.
I can bring that up at board comment? Or we need to pick a time right now?
No, not pick a time, but it's the
What do you want
intent
to
to discuss
motion?
What do you guys want to do? Do you want a special meeting or do you want to?
I think we're gonna need one, because I think there's still things to discuss, and I think if we have a full agenda like we do now with something this large,
I have
With
12,
other things,
13 items on the
other-
next agenda.
well, there's the answer, then
12
my
to
motion for a
13
special
That's
meeting
not going to be.
for the personnel policy.
Certain things have to happen.
A motion for a special meeting on the second, or for the personnel policy discussion. Continue.
A special.
I'll second.
Okay. Okay, so I guess I need to vote now. So, Director Palafox,
Yes.
Director Sangster,
Yes.
Director Calvins,
Yes.
Director Parent,
Yes.
Director Green.
Yes. Do we
Passes
want to
5-0-0.
pick a date and time now?
And with that said, do we need to dissolve the ad hoc, or do we just let it float?
It floats until we do a resolution to kill it.
Does this replace that, or can it go in conjunction with it?
This is just
Well, there's
something
no point in
separate.
doing it in conjunction because
Well, then should we,
we
No,
don't,
I-
need- we don't need to take that action. We can just move forward with the special meeting.
Yes, that's fine.
okay, and then worry about the resolution later to dissolve when all this is said and done?
It will dissolve when we create the resolution. When we-
And we can,
Oh, I thought it had to be a separate resolution. I'm
I
sorry.
can work with Helene and we can email you guys, certain times and you can decide when you want the special meeting. There's a process and we can do it.
There may be a special meeting on the audit also, so you're looking at possibly two before the March meeting.
Yes.
You're looking at two what?
Another meeting will be called once the audit is available for ratification for you guys to vote on it.
Because we got 250,000 working on it.
There may be two special meetings before the March meeting.
So we can,
Okay, so you can send out dates, but every board member needs to be there. So if there's
Yeah.
a date that people can't be there, that's not going, it's not going to be the best out of four, the best out of three. It's going to be
I'll work with Helene
5
and
for
we'll,
one.
yeah.
1 for 5 or whatever it is. 1 for all for one and all for right.
Okay, that's done. Please let that be done. We are
We're
on
at item 4.
Thank you.
item 4. Oh, this is big.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're, review and approve resolution 2019-05 adopting a comprehensive revision to the San Miguel CSD application for water wastewater lighting closer associated fees.
So, 2 years ago, in 2016, the board adopted a revised Wilson application and fee schedule.
When they're done.
So, 2016, the board adopted a revised application and fee schedule for a well serve for, at that time, water, wastewater, and fire safety. Because of increased number of things that are being reviewed, the division of personnel, and the cost to do these types of reviews and inspections, we've separated water, wastewater, and lighting from the fire safety review. So what you're looking at right now is the revised WILSR for water, wastewater, and lighting. Part of that
Thank you.
WILSR application,
Because
there's
it's doing the same thing.
listing of the different fees for the different types of projects, which covers the review process and the inspections throughout that process. There's no additional cost for additional inspections. It covers the presumed number of inspections and presumed time it takes to do those types of inspections or reviews. We can go through them individually if you like, but you can read through them if you haven't already.
We've had time to do that.
I just wanted a clarification, if I may.
Okay.
So, just to clarify the fee schedule, the first page, plan review, fee schedule residential, whereas 1,150, 500, et cetera, moving on that first page. That's based on the project or the subdivision.
So that's a subdivision review, so if you're building like Jazzy Town or People Self-Help, that review would be per water, per sewer, lighting, infrastructure for that tract.
For the whole project.
So for the site work alone, so all the water mains, sewer mains, for that site work.
And then the following page would be the per unit cost.
And then following, the third section would be the per unit cost per house.
Yes.
To review and inspect the water, sewer lines for that project, or for that house.
Okay. Thank you. There is a correction on page 6 of 25. Notice to builders, contractors, homeowners. Single-family residence, builders please not. That should be note with a colon.
Is that all you got?
And no else. Further on page 13 of 25, all non-residential applicants, et cetera, et cetera. Item 1, it says for all. So we should delete one of the for alls.
It's supposed to say one for all.
And all for all, yes. I got the Three Musketeers reference there as well. And that's all I have.
Joe, you got it?
No.
John?
I have something actually. Mr. Dodds, I'm looking at this document, we talked about commercial multi-family, back up to it. Commercial, multi-family, mixed use, fees, for water and sewer service. What about for agricultural users who are maybe hook up to our future purple pipe network? Are we gonna address fees for that in later, or how is that gonna be addressed? Where would that go? We don't have anything for that right now. I don't have enough information of what we would need to actually provide a bill sweep for that. I imagine that going forward, we were going, once we get to that point anyway, where we have that to provide our closing side, then we're gonna have to develop a separate application for that. Okay. Because that doesn't fall under our normal review. And their scrutiny is gonna be a lot higher than your normal house. Sure. And based on conversations with the Regional Water Board, they're going to have additional permits that they have to apply for through the state. So we're going to have to make sure that our application includes the information for those to make sure that we make sure that they're following the state law, so we don't get in trouble. And then the other question I have is talk about the I don't know how you want to describe it, but the septic tanks. The new construction goes in on the terrace. Okay, you got a couple of tracks up there and a septic tank. Are they going to pay a sewer inspection? What's going on with that? Or you don't?
It's a county issue.
It's a county permit. We don't permit septic tanks. Okay. So they pay permit fees and review fees to the county for those tanks. Okay. So in this instance, in why each one of these is separated water and sewer, is on the terrace, you're not going to pay sewer review and inspection fees because there is no combined sewer there, or collection system or sewer treatment there. It's all septic, which is under the control of the county. So that means that the county's in charge of inspecting it, making sure it's installed properly, that it doesn't have a problem, doesn't break down in 20 years. Well, they can't control whether it breaks down in 20 years, but they just make sure that it meets current standards. And they are set up for that. They have permits in place and building standards in place for that. So for us to take that on now is outside of our scope, and it's already being covered by the county. And then I have one more question I want to bring up, and that is, I know this has been talked about, 4 years ago. People who construct private wells in the district boundaries. Are GSPs dealing with that? It will be a provision of the GSP, but currently you're not allowed to drill a domestic well within the district if you're
in an area served by the district.
Okay.
So there is some properties in this district that are not served by the district. You know, south end of, by the Mission, out at the end of Mission Lane, Magdalena, some of the houses on River Road. So if you are not served by the district, or not readily able to be served by the district, then you can drill a domestic well. Otherwise, you're able to drill an ag well. The only provision with that is that you are required to have a backflow, which is part of this permit.
Okay, because as the example, I guess we could use mini courts and cellars as an example. There are an ag well, if I'm mistaken, correct?
They have a domestic well and an ag well.
A domestic well and an ag well. And they pump probably as much water as this entire town does.
They're not in the district boundaries though,
Yes, they are.
Outside cellars is actually inside the district boundary, but they're not, when they were built, they were not able to be served by the district. So they were able to have those wells, and we can't force them to pull them out.
No.
Just because there's water line close.
So you have several more agricultural zones in this district boundaries where something like that could happen again, and do you have anything to cover that? Are we going to be inspecting that? We're going to let the county deal with it, and we'll just deal with it down the road?
Due to all the additional regulation on water, the over-regulation more or less on agriculture, any change is going to come through this district if they want to change it to something else. If they want to put in some sort of processing, that's a change that has to come through the district.
Okay.
That would be covered by this will serve under commercial.
Okay.
If they don't have water, but they need water, then it's going to come through us. Anytime anybody applies for a permit for a well, it comes to us. We don't permit the well, but the county calls and gets approval from us before they approve the well.
Okay.
So there is things in place to make sure that, random stuff just doesn't pop up.
Like it has been for how many years?
But, honestly, under the county rule in the county area, they allow things to get the funds for those things. But anything that happens within the district or right around the district is notified of any minor use permits, which the county so graciously forced down everybody's throat that wants to build it.
I just want to make sure that that's part of our plan text if we're going to be talking about this comprehensive.
Okay. Is there any other board comments or questions? No. Any public comment? State your name for the record.
Laverne Buckman. I just have one question. It's not directly related to your fees, but I know someone who put in a second domestic well because the county required them to have another one for what they were building. And they're in the district. And she told me that they had to pay extra fees to the district for that well. Or it's had something to do with the water basin fees because they were a well within a district.
So the county, what's happened over the last, it's probably been 4 years now, but the county changed especially when, I can't remember exactly what started it, but the county now requires that if you're putting in a well, you have to pay a fee. So you pay to put in your well. You pay for the permit for your well. You have to pay a fee to the flood control district to monitor your well. But they don't monitor your well. You don't even do it.
No?
You're forced to pay a fee, and I don't know exactly the dollar amount, but it's pretty steep. It's like about $8,000.
Wow.
You have to put a meter on, you have to pay that fee, they come out and inspect it, and then they never come out again. Because it's illegal for them to come on your property and inspect it. So they force you to do all this. It's under the auspice that they're going to manage how much water is pumped out of the basin. But it wasn't well thought out.
Well, let's get back to
But
this.
at any rate, that money does not come to the district. That goes to the flood control district as part of the county.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Back to the board. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
A second.
Director Sangster, right? And then Parent? Director Calvin,
Yes.
Director Parent,
Yes.
Director Palafox,
Yes.
Director Sangster,
Yes.
President Green.
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Okay, review and approve resolution 2019-06, adopting a fee schedule cost related to construction within the district and set rates for water meters.
So again, in 2016, this was partially adopted as part of the WILSR policy. It's not really prudent for it to be in the WILSR policy. The fees that are listed are fees that would recoup our costs if we were to have to intervene on some sort of a tie-in or repair as a result of a customer action, a contractor action. Any work that we do as a result of normal wear and tear is not part of this. We do that, we budget for that. This is merely to cover the cost to do something to fix what somebody else broke that belongs to the district. So the top section is the normal business hours, the rates for that. The middle section is for after hours. It covers overtime. The water meter installation fees are split between new and replacement. The new is if you put in a new water service, you pay your connection fee. This is to cover the cost of the meter and the valve and the minimal time to put it in. That's all it covers. And these are our actual costs for the parts. They're not marked up or anything. Below that, you have service interruption or door hangers. So if you are not paying your bill on time, you end up going all the way to the point where we have to issue a 48-hour shut-off for non-payment. It's now going to cost $15. If you still don't pay your bill and you're issued a 24-hour door shut-off or door hanger, then it's another $15. If you get to the point where we actually do shut off your door or your water, then it's $15. If we lock off your service, then it's going to be $75, which is a change from previous, which used to be $60. And then if we reconnect your service after hours, so if you call after 4:30 and plead your case and prove that you paid your bill, and we'll turn your water back on, but it's $125. I think in the entire time I've been here, that's happened twice, 3 times.
I have to put in there the comment that, mind you, we passed that billing policy, and by April 2020, we won't be shutting off anybody till 60 days past due.
So these 48, 24 in service disconnect would be after 60 days.
Yeah.
So you put a 48-hour notice on their door and then wait 60 days to come back and shut it off?
Now, the notices have a definite date that you're shut off.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it'll be at the end of the 60-day period.
So,
you get this.
like right now,
No, the shut off.
you get these after 30 days. But in the future, when that provision of the billing policy takes full effect, you'll get a 48-hour notice at day 58. You get a 24-hour door notice at day 59. And day 60, if it gets all that way, you get the shut-off fee.
That's brilliant. In the meantime, you received another bill.
Yes,
right?
they already
2 more.
At this point too, because of the billing policy, I'm going to have to send you a letter, call you, send you another letter.
Well then, okay, basis of these fees, are these just, this is actual time?
We tried to calculate it, yeah.
So the basis of the door hanger fees is the low end of the time that it takes from the time that a list is generated saying these people are delinquent to an operator going out and paying the door.
Okay.
So it includes an estimation of all, there's 3 different people's time, the paper, printing, vehicles.
So it's a penalty, but it's more of a recovery of cost penalty.
All of this is more aimed at recovering costs than to be a true penalty. I mean, in Paso, I think their penalty is like $100, and you don't get a 48 and a 24. You don't get a 48, you get a 24. But when you get that 24, it's $100, And then when they shut it off, it's another $100 and some bucks.
But
Yeah.
that's gonna come 60 days later now.
But yeah, it's gonna be 60
But
days
you guys
later.
do need to realize,
Well,
right now,
no.
we're still doing 30 days.
Now, with that said, do we wanna make ours a little more, I mean, if it's 2 months out, do we wanna make it more, I don't know, punitive, for lack of a better word? I mean, do we
We only
wanna,
really want to recover, right?
we just wanna recover our costs, we don't wanna follow suit with like, I mean,
I don't think
there's
that-
some discouragement with, you know, what Passo's doing. I mean, if you know you're gonna get a $100 fine,
But we're doing nothing now, and to go to $15 a door in here, it's just gonna stop the people that
All
are
right.
every.
I'm more concerned with how we're gonna implement this.
Yeah.
Because we have frequent flyers that are gonna come in here ranting and raving over, well, I always come in late.
the price of poker went up, yes.
All the notices clearly state when your bill is due.
Oh, I understand.
Well,
How-
and there should, I would hope that you guys would give, and my general manager would give me a little leeway in implementing it in the next,
That's
little
what I
time.
wanted to discuss right
Yeah.
now.
I have a question. So past due penalties, 30 days past due is 10%, and then over 60 days.
Is that 1%?
Is that 1%? So at day 60, it's a 10%? Because you
No.
have the second cycle.
Everything, Helene could probably explain this better than me, but anything under, that you're past due 30 days, that's a 10% penalty.
Okay.
If it goes, say that same bill goes to 60 days.